Greetings and welcome to Voices from Albion, the Magnetic Minstrel podcast. My name is Richard McPherson and I'll be your host tonight. Indulge yourself in a sweet bowl of Cranachan or perhaps a chill bottle of Crabbies and sit back while I tell you the tales of the lost Albion Empire and the musical saga of Magnetic Minstrel. Chapter 1, Lost Atlantis, the Kingdom of Time. Part 1, Northern Atlantis and the Legacy of the Amtrai. The Songs of Time would be the legacy of the lost realm of Atlantis, written and forged by the Duo de Danann in the emerald reaches of Northern Atlantis. Known as the Amtrai, they are able to conjure the powers of the earth to shape and bend time, using sound to fashion a window backwards and forwards. It was a gift of the Duo de Danann, whose magical ways gifted them with the ability to bend and shape the electromagnetic spectrum in its various aspects, especially the nature of light. This allowed them to create the Amtrai to travel up and down the corridors of time. The principal architect of the Amtrai was Queen Danu, whose celestial prowess in the shaping of light was foremost among the Duo de Danann. It would be a legacy that would lead to the creation of the Albion Empire and bring about the journeys of Teleus and Silverbrow from his distant realm of the future. Hers was a journey of necessity, as she wished to safeguard the realm of mankind from the depredations of the dark designs of the Fomorians, who were bent upon its ultimate destruction. These foul creatures would be the architects of the fall of Atlantis, and Queen Danu worked tirelessly to protect the fortunes of humankind, who she considered her children, and would defend them even from beyond the grave. Part 2, Southern Atlantis and the Domain of the Chronosphere. The domain of the Chronosphere would belong to the Nemedians of the island city of Wayfarer's Haven in southern Atlantis. Known for their technological prowess, the Nemedians would strip down the great starship that brought them to Earth and use its antimatter drive to power their island city. Forging the duality using the eternal war between matter and antimatter, they created the Chamber of the Phoenix as a wellspring of nearly limitless energy. While this helped mold their greatly advanced civilization, it was also instrumental in the creation of the Chronosphere, a massive time machine of intricate design that gave the Nemedians the ability to govern travel through time. In the end, the Nemedians would also fall victim to the dark designs of the Fomorians, and their island city of southern Atlantis would be decimated in the fall of a great asteroid. Chapter 2, Ancient Albion and the Realm of Magic. Part 1, The College of Bards of the Albion Empire. The musical strains of the Albion Empire would be born from the legacy of the Amtrai of Lost Atlantis. As the empire grew from its modest beginnings as the Kingdom of Albion, its denizens soon discovered the magic resident in the earth that could be shaped by both word and song. With these gifts, they were able to create the College of Bards at the behest of Teleus and Silverbrow, the Bard of Albion, that would be the basis for the musical strains that would make magic manifest in the real world. The catalogue of the musical strains would number in the hundreds of compositions and could conjure all manner of phenomenon through the agency of music. These ranged in the beginning from human emotions such as joy, love, strength, sorrow, and fear, as well as a host of many others. As the College of Bards became more adept in its composition of the musical strains, their fashioning became more complex, and they began to control the elements like rain, snow, storms, wind, water, along with other elemental aspects of nature. Soon they were able to mold and shape the musical strains in layers of sound to create far more complicated manifestations. Under the tutelage of Taliesin and Silverbrow, the magic of the earth became manifest in manifold different ways, and the empire was filled with its magical summoning. As the empire grew across the centuries, so did the catalogue of musical strains, touching every aspect of life in its realm. Part 2. The Guardians of Magecraft of the Albion Empire. The spoken word was also able to summon the powers of the earth, and its practitioners were known as the Guardians of Magecraft. Through verse and incantations, the magicians of Albion could create powerful magical spells through the auspices of sound. Their Book of Magecraft grew over the centuries to stand beside the musical strains of a college of bards with their ability to fashion their incantations and verses to summon not only human emotions, but the elemental forces of the world. Indeed, their magical ways of Albion would create a supernatural economy in the empire that would fuel its avenues of commerce. This, combined with the growth of other mystical agencies to govern Albion, made it a formidable power in the eyes of the world. All of this was to a very singular purpose. For just as the black hearts of the Fomorians had destroyed the lost kingdom of Atlantis, it was also known to Taliesin and Silverbrow and the emperors of Albion that they would eventually return to bring about the end of Albion. Chapter 3. The Book of Psalms in the Modern World. It would be the discovery of the Amtrai in the modern day by Aeneid and Harper and the members of Magnetic Minstrel that would define its legacy. While it would be Aeneid that would initially discover the songs of time, it would be another member of the band that would define its creation. It would be the comprehension of Jeremy Dunaway, keyboard player in the band, that would perceive the nature of its gifts. He reasoned that an immense power must be created and summoned to fashion the time songs. Working from the idea of atomic fission that was the byproduct of the nuclear reaction, he saw that this power was utilized in the shaping of the electromagnetic spectrum, bending the very nature of light and creating the window in time. Refining this concept into a more elegant form, he declared that it was by the principles of particle separation and light modification that the window in time was shaped. Distilling this down into a simpler acronym, he called it a psalm to give it its ultimate name. He called the catalogue of journeys in time the Book of Psalms, or particle separation and light modification sequences, after the musical arrangements that summoned and manipulated time. Utterly enchanted by Jeremy's reasoning, the band adopted the name, and soon the entire world embraced the concept of the Book of Psalms. Perhaps the most enchanting part of what Magnetic Minstrel had conjured was the fact that the world perceived it as a magical fairy tale, conceived by the powers of modern-day special effects sleight of hand, while the truth of the matter was that the musical tales that they created were fashioned through the auspices of time travel and projected into the modern world for all to see, creating the infamous legacy of the world's most famous rock and roll band. It would be a deeply held secret to the vast fortune amassed by Magnetic Minstrel in their musical sojourns that it would be used to prepare against the deep, dark destiny, the return of the Fomorians in the modern world. This has been Voices from Albion, the Magnetic Minstrel podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed the show and will tune in next time for the next episode. If you want to know more about the Lost Albion Empire, please go to starofalbion.co.uk, and if you're curious about the band Magnetic Minstrel, please go to magneticminstrel.co.uk. So, until next time, stay safe in this uncertain world, my fine lads and lasses, and fare thee well. Voices from Albion, the Magnetic Minstrel podcast, is a production of Kenmore Audio. Copyright Richard McPherson, 2020. All rights reserved.